Mirthwood is a cozy farming sim with an amazing atmosphere. You take care of your own farm, build relationships with the locals, and explore the expansive world to uncover hidden secrets and treasure. However, I couldn't care less about any of this shit. But wait, you can also farm chickens?
Ah, now we're getting somewhere.
Today we embark on a journey through the vessel known as Mirthwood to fulfill my lifelong dream. Become the ultimate chicken farmer. Use the chickens to make a metric poop ton of money and use this money to buy the magnificent unicorn mount. To achieve all of this, we need to set up some goals. First, I need to fix up my little farm shack. Second, I need to find some backpack upgrades. I also need to get my hands on some money to buy the first batch of chickens. And finally, make enough chicken money to buy the mount. So let's not keep the chickies waiting and let's get mirthin'. We begin our adventure as the young lad Azigatoth, a young farm boy with a delightful little mustache. The first thing I do is run around the village and borrow items from our neighbors' chests. Along the way we also help our brother gather ingredients for a delicious ginger soup. After force feeding the soup to our parents, I head down to my parents' basement to crawl into bed and prepare for yet another dreary day in the life of a poor boy. However, we don't wake up to just any ordinary day, since it turns out that the war has finally reached our village and raiders have come to burn down the entire place. Damn, bro slept through the entire Third World War. Sadly, mom got stabbed in the leg and we had to make our way to the docks to escape. But before we go, let's just grab this family heirloom to take with us as a reminder of the family that we left alone here in this hellhole. After skillfully taking care of some raiders,
I prefer really not to speak.
I made it to the docks where the captain sailed us to a better place.
We are going to be harvesting mangoes in Tahiti.
No, shut up, Dutch. We arrived in Mirthwood. Here, some random guy was waiting for us and he told us to take his horse and meet the stranger. Alright, but when do I get my chickens? Oh hey, the stranger sure looks like one. Our chickeny friend told us some mysterious RPG lore and offered us our very own little farmstead. Or at least, what's left of it.
Oh, thanks for nothing then, man.
It'll take a ton of renovation before we can turn it into a chicken farm. I went south to explore the town of Oakvale a bit. Again, I borrowed some of the inhabitants' items and went back to buy some onion and pea seeds, since the stranger ordered us to do so. Just before we left, we stumbled upon a crate with every possible tool, next to a random tree. How convenient! I cleared a small area of land next to the house and placed farm plots to get our first bit of produce going. To upgrade our house from being a shitty little hut, we need an absurd amount of wood and stone. So I spent the next few days chopping and mining on our little plot of land. After managing to upgrade the interior, I noticed my hunger bar was low and I was out of food. So I grabbed my crappy bow and ventured into the nearby forest to hunt for some fresh DIY McDonald's. And after shooting a few rabbits, I encountered my first mainland enemy, the thief. And this was the moment that I realized that I'm not really good at combat in this game. Back at home, I cooked the rabbit and deer meat right after crafting the cooking pot. I watered my plants and then went to harvest some more resources to upgrade the exterior of the base. Because this thing is leaking more than your grandmother's But just look at it right now.
It was perfect. Perfect.
This is going to be a great place to start our very own chicken my totally ethical chicken farming operation. And this makes our first goal crossed off our list. After upgrading the floor of the house and placing our family heirloom above the bed, I went out to do some quests for the local villagers of Oakvale, just to familiarize myself with the game a bit. Along the way, I got this amazing beekeeper's hat too. Just look at me. The stranger explained to me that I'm a descendant of some long forgotten race and yada yada, and that I had to find some kind of artifact from the ruin we were standing next to. Dude, I just want my chickens. The ruin, however, was filled with cakewalkers, and these guys were no joke. To counter my inability to remember overly simple attack patterns, I used my bow to pick them off. This was absurdly slow, but it worked. And at the end of the cave, I found the artifact thingy, which I brought back to the stranger. And of course, I had to find 3 more.
I don't care. I said no, it's not happening, okay?
I decided to focus on upgrading my tools to iron, so I could gather resources faster and hopefully get to the chickens faster. I also wanted to upgrade my bow, since it's my primary weapon now and it would definitely be crucial for retrieving the other 3 parts of the artifact whenever I get back to the quest. I helped the blacksmith find his hammer that somehow ended up in a tree, which unlocked his shop. Here I found out that I need to buy an iron toolkit at the blacksmith to upgrade my tools, which was flipping expensive. And apparently you need one for every tool.
Honey, we can't afford that.
I sold some stuff that I had hoarded in my chest back at home and I made just enough money to buy the iron toolkit and the hardwood bow diagram. After that I set off to look for more iron ore, since we were going to need a lot of it for the tool upgrade. While out exploring, I stumbled upon Reginald the Archie, some legendary bandit. But like most enemies in this game, he was no match for my bow, arrow and Dark Souls level dodge rolling. He dropped his coat upon dying, which made me a happy paper cutout boy. And I continued doing a quest for one of Oakville's farmhands, who had lost all of his chickens. Being the chicken lover that I am, I brought all of the chickies back to him and he rewarded me with the best thing ever. Bro just handed me the headpiece of my people. Well, I didn't see that coming, but I'm totally here for it. I continued my quest for more ore, but I just couldn't seem to find any. Only one small node in a cave. But I needed a lot more to be able to craft the iron axe and start farming hardwood for my bow. I literally looked for hours and was honestly about to give up, until I stumbled upon a book in the middle of nowhere titled A Guide to Resources. It explained that iron ore was actually found in the swamp. That's Valheim all over again. I went down to the swamp to mine iron ore and actually found a camp where I could build stuff. And most importantly was able to fast travel from and to from my farmhouse. This was going to be really convenient, albeit not really flawless.
Fuck my life.
I managed to farm a great amount of ore in the swamp, and because I have the patience of a toddler, I crafted a second furnace to smelt all of it down. And behold, the iron axe. I took the axe to the foothills to farm some of the hardwood, and I went back to the base to craft my hardwood bow. Finally, I felt safe. However, this was fun and all, but I really started to grow hungry for finally getting my chickos. And in Mirthwood, you can buy chickens for a nauseating price of 1k gold each. But I had a plan. Because what's the best way to make money and also get the local population to like you in a place you've just moved into? That's right. Selling them illegal booze. I prepared for my new summer side hustle by building a fermenter to ferment fruits, a keg to turn the fermented fruits into alcohol, plus an aging bin to age the alcohol into even more expensive alcohol. Summer finally rolled around, and I headed to the farm shop to pick up some new seeds to plant this season. I saw that grapes and strawberries could be grown in summer, and those seemed like crops that could be potentially harvested multiple times a season. Back at the farm, I cleared some space and started plowing the fields to plant the grapes and strawberries, along with some corn and carrots to keep myself fed. And as they say, if you think you're thinking big enough, think bigger. While the crops were growing, I went exploring to find the remaining pieces of the artifact, putting my hardwood bow to good use in a few bandit camps and caves along the way. After that, I took a little break to go fishing, because even aspiring chicken farmers need a moment to reflect on their past mistakes. During my travels I came across all of these colorful feathers. I couldn't really figure out what to do with them, but since I couldn't sell them to the merchants, I figured that they might be useful somehow. Until I met this guy, Fernfoot, who lets you increase your backpack sizes by using the feathers. Finally, bigger bags. Being able to carry more than 1.5 types of food at once is a total game changer. And the second goal totally scraped off the list. On top of that, Fernfoot also seems to be the guy that sells the unicorn mount for just a small amount of 10k gold coins. Well, that's gonna take a lot of eggies. Excited for the fact that I now had a lot more inventory space to juggle things around in, I headed back to the farm, did some more brewing and went to bed. The next day the first batch of grapes and strawberries were ready to pick. To streamline things and avoid suffocation from all the fermentation gases, I moved the booze operations outside the house and started fermenting my first batch of strawberries into jam.
That's not how it works.
I headed back to the market to sell my first homemade goods. There I discovered that selling the raw strawberries was more profitable than the jam. So I reinvested into more grapevines. We now had more grapes than we could ferment at once, so I built a few more fermentation barrels, which significantly sped up the booze making process. From this point on, I farmed like there was no tomorrow, picking the grapes and strawberries as they grew, throwing them into the fermenter, transferring them into the keg, and finally into the booze aging bin. And after that I just went to bed to speed up time. Rinse and repeat. After having tons of fun grinding the booze, I ended up with a bunch of aged red wine, selling for 55 coins each. Not bad at all. Along with the strawberries, it made me enough money to completely drain the merchants of their gold. The winery had made me about 3k gold so far, which meant that I could finally do it. I grabbed some wood and stone I gathered, built a chicken coop and went to buy my first 2 chickens. Because my brain is smoother than a watermelon and I apparently don't quite understand how reproduction works, I bought 2 female chickens. Yeah, it's the third goal of the list, right? Only one more goal to go. The horse with the painted carrot taped to its forehead. And these two girls aren't going to make me the 10k that it costs. So I decided to expand the farm to increase our income. And thus my ability to buy more chickens. Role-playing as a French wine farmer was truly one of the gaming experiences of my life. Just so many grapes. However, slowly but surely money started coming in faster. And my army of chickens began to grow, one chicken at a time. I built a large chicken coop that could hold 6 chickens, which in hindsight wasn't really worth it, since you also have to buy the plants for it. And it's freaking huge. Quickly after buying our first male chicken, I noticed the first baby chick. Oh, just look at the cute thing. I continued to grind, building more chicken coops and buying more chickens. And the chickens also multiplied on their own. By the time fall rolled around, I didn't even bother with the crops anymore. The army of chickens was already producing copious amounts of eggs, which I boiled to sell to the traders. The eggs never seemed to go bad and just piled up in my yard over time. So I figured that I could just sleep for weeks on end, after which I could just scoop up piles of them at once. After this, I practiced the art of repetitive strain injury by boiling them one by one. Like and subscribe to help fund my RSI therapy. Man, just look at these eggs. Absolutely wonderful. I was a bit concerned that I'd have to hand feed all of the chickens in winter, but it turns out that they just keep eating the frozen grass all throughout winter. Great. So the rest of my playthrough was practically sleeping, picking, boiling and spamming F. And selling the eggs, of course. By also spamming F. And finally, on the second day of spring year 2, I made enough money to buy my dream mount, Willy the White Unicorn, whom I somehow couldn't assign to the stable that I built, and then he completely vanished after I came back from some kind of otherworldly portal quest. Wow, that was totally worth it. But since I was able to enjoy the unicorn for the full 5 minutes, I feel like I completed the last goal of my list. Well, thanks for watching. And a special thanks to my patrons and channel members. If you like my content, consider becoming a channel member yourself. And if you still want to watch something, you might just like the next video. See you guys next time. Bye.